And we're the boys.
Yeah.
Oh, we're the boys.
Boys.
We're the boys.
We're the boys.
We're the boys.
We're
And
the
Ann
boys.
is a boy, and Mitch is a boy, and Chris is a boy, and Tim is a boy. And together we're the boys and the boys.
Ready?
Welcome to the podcast.
The Boys, number 2.
And here is who are you? Who are you? I'm the enchanter. What's your name? People call me Tim.
Quiet for sound. Podcast 2, take 1.
It ends laughing too. The end.
That is an intro. That is an intro. Okay, everyone quiet.
Why don't we make a beginning
it'll
to the
be-
second part?
No one say anything. Welcome to podcast
No, that was
number
long enough.
2.
You won't see
Oh
that.
Well, why don't you be quiet so I can do it, Tim?
Stop. Okay, wait, ready? Okay,
There you go.
you're going to count. You're going to count to 10. Okay.
Wait, that's perfect. It starts now.
Welcome to podcast 2 of the boys. The boys are back in town.
Guys, it's been way too long.
Yeah, it really has.
Man, it's been like what? Oh my goodness!
It's been like 1
I don't
minute.
even remember.
When is the last time we were gathered around this table?
That was like
I don't know. Like
I know.
we need to come here more often.
I know.
Yeah.
it's
Like
true.
we have
We
all
never
good
get
times.
together.
I know.
Hey,
All
so
I
should
need
we
is to
say
know
that this
where
is the end of
sheets
the
are
intro
blankets
and let's get to the episode?
I've taken stuff
The
off.
Okay, this is the end of the intro and let's get to the episode. Woo!
There's no intro.
When skinny people try to tell you, "Oh no, you're not fat."
Yeah, shut up. Yeah, like that. I
Like,
resent
oh
that.
really? Oh really? I don't know my own body, really? or even worse than
Mitchell,
that,
you're
when
not the one
skinny
that-
people are like, "I'm so fat," and it's the same freaking people telling you you're not fat. It's like
Yeah.
you're a hypocrite and a scoundrel, and
But see,
Mitchell, you're not the one that has to look at you all day. I know you're not fat, okay? Now
Aw.
I'm gaining.
boom.
but the other thing that I've also come to realize. Boom. The other thing I've come to realize, though, is everybody's perception of themselves is honest to themselves. So that skinny person who's saying they're fat, they see their flaws. And I mean, in comparison to how we perceive ourselves, we're like, whatever, but I mean, they legitimately, even if it's only, like, one thing I've definitely learned is even if you have a battle with weight, if you have 200 pounds to lose or you have 20 pounds to lose, it's essentially the same battle. Because, like Barb, Betts is a perfect example. I don't see Barb as heavy. But Barb said, like, I'm getting really self-conscious of my weight. I've gained 20 pounds over the past couple of years. I got to get to the gym. I got to eat better. And I'm like, I would kill to look like you. What are you complaining about? But, like, for her...
If you kill a person, right? We can guarantee you.
But it's like, but to her perception is that she has gained weight. And she's not comfortable where she is now because she knows what it's like to be 20 pounds thinner. And I've actually told this story about you, Tim, to other people, where I remember you coming back from... I think it was Indiana or some retreat. And you said you had to pull your belt buckle to like the next notch because you had gained weight.
And I was self-conscious, so I pulled it tighter just to make myself feel better. It's like I'm losing weight, bro.
But I remember you saying, "Oh, okay, like I gotta watch what I'm eating over the next couple of weeks," and I'm like, "Oh man, I wish I had done that. I wish I had let that one buckle affect me the same way that it affected you, rather than just going, oh, well, it's just another notch on the belt. Oh, this belt doesn't fit anymore. Let's get a bigger belt. No, wait. Belts can't fit me anymore. Let's go to elastic pants. Now I'm wearing sweatpants. That's okay. Like, you know, I wish I had allowed that one notch on the belt to affect me the way that it did you. You know, so it's like, for you, in that moment, you were like, I need to lose weight. And I'm looking at you going, oh, no, you don't. But for you, that was
gain a couple.
That was your perception, because you knew what it was like to be more comfortable in your body. So I try not to resent skinny people. I'm using air quotes. That say I have to lose weight, because in their mind, like I have a girl on Facebook who's always like, my journey to losing weight. I've always struggled with my weight, and I've always been 5 to 10 pounds overweight. I'm just like, I inwardly, I want to hate you, but at the same time, it's like, she's now a mom. She's had 3 kids. You know, for her, 5 to 10 pounds is overweight. So it's still the same battle, even though to me it's a joke.
Well, in a way, keeping that mindset though is what keeps them there.
Exactly. But it's also like, you know, being responsible for wherever you're at. And so I think that I try to have empathy for people, even if I can't relate to them. It's still the same battle. You're still trying to self-improve. You're still trying to see yourself realistically. And I think that's where I'm at, is going, okay, yes, I'm fat, but that does not make me any less valuable. You know, I try not to associate my value with my size.
Right, that doesn't make you lazy.
No, it doesn't make me lazy. No. And that can be a perception people have of me, and I'm insecure of that. So, like, I try to remove the characteristics that some people associate with a fat person and say, I'm not those things. I'm not, like, socially, like, because, I mean, sometimes, like, when I see pictures of myself, I'm like, why do I have friends? Like, I don't understand why anybody would like me.
You're so
awesome. Well, see, you right,
too.
Mitchie? Like, and so you have to, at some point, let go of that.
No, you guys are my friends that I'm referring to.
But you have to let go of that and see your value for who you are, like, truly on the inside. And it's because I'm doing that I'm starting to have more positive feelings about myself, and I relate more positively to other people. And I don't take offense when little kids make comments about my size or my chin or whatever my self-conscious things are, because I'm not tied up in those same inward insecurities, if that makes sense. So my point is, I'm rambling, but everybody is on their own journey, whether it's just a notch in the belt or it's, elastic stretch pants.
Moral of the story, Mitchell: encourage people to think they're fat even if they're skinny.
Could you imagine someone's like, man, I'm fat, and you go up to them and you're like, yeah, you should work on that. You should really start working out.
You're getting a little bit chubby there.
Oh yeah. Tim's trying to unlock my iPhone with his finger.
You guys
and
keep
then
having
and then I gave him this big revelation of, it's my iPhone, not yours.
Because we're fat, Mitchell. They're excluding us.
Oh, so skinny people can't have conversations with fat people. We're fat too.
Well, we have to respect your opinion. You identify as fat, therefore... Now we're back!
Welcome back from that short-term break that we had there.
Now that we're an hour in.
We had to discuss the direction our podcast would be taking in the future.
The fun part of starting a podcast.
Which is why we didn't record it.
Yeah, but I kind of wish that we had, because we had some, like, kind of little beautiful moments.
We recorded some of them.
We recorded the beautiful moments.
All right, that's
We
good.
just didn't record
all of
anything.
But yeah, I think the gist of what we want to do as a group here, and obviously we have to figure it out.
We want to let you know that
this is our first podcast, and we want to be authentic. This is what we were discussing. Is we want to be authentic. We want to be true to who we actually are as people, but we do not want to
purposely
offend anyone.
They do not want to purposely offend.
We just want to make sure that we're being authentic, but we're also being sensitive. So that's what that conversation was about.
Yep.
So
They want me to be sensitive.
offensive, yeah.
Guys, I am really offensive right now. Okay?
Offensively sensitive.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah? Well, I get what you're feeling. I get it.
It's called fensobia.
I get it, Chris. You're feeling real vulnerable right now. I feel you, bro.
That really is offensively sensitive, yeah.
It's okay, Sherry. And Tim, I get that you're tall and feel weird about it, Tim. I get it.
That can't honestly be your worst insult,
No, it's
though.
not.
It was totally a joke.
Yeah.
And then Chris took it seriously, and then I felt bad because I made fun of his
Tall.
seriousness.
Call.
Well, you took it seriously.
I went to the...
Because then he
To
started...
the brother issue,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
that was
that's
a
the
real
thing.
issue, and I
He was
then
like,
joked
Tim was
about it
like,
after
no,
and
it was
felt
supposed
bad.
to be jokes, and
forget
now
it.
you make me sad inside.
Oh, jeez. No, what is the worst insult, Tim, that you can remember?
We're all the way back here.
Worst
Welcome back
insult
to part one.
ever. Okay, from all my friends. I'm joking. It's coming.
I can't even think of it.
Worst insult. To be honest, the first insult is probably the first insult that you've had because
Yeah.
they're the
the
what
ones
hit
that
you the
stick.
most, and they're not even that bad
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, I don't have it.
it's like straight up like either you're slow, you're stupid.
Yeah.
And they're insults that I like when I look back, like, and I see people for who they are now,
Yeah.
like, I realize, oh, they were just saying, you're stupid. You know, it's like,
Oh, they were just saying that
it's really
comment that I
nothing
took apart
big.
before.
And so then, but like back then, it was like, it devastated
Of
me.
course. Of course.
And so, yeah, it would be like, you know, back in grade school when, you know, my dyslexic was very rampant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was, well, you're stupid. Yeah, well, it's kind of like a
Yeah.
fat kid. Okay,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
you know,
And it's
bouncing
something that you are
basketball.
already maybe feeling yourself, like, I'm struggling a little bit more. Even if you haven't vocalized it, but you're feeling it internally, like, I'm struggling more than the rest of the kids to understand this. You know, why am I not getting this? And then if somebody at that moment of your internal vulnerability says, you're stupid, that can be devastating because it's kind of what you're already feeling inside.
Yeah, and the problem is I was always in that because it was always showing up in school, in every area of school.
Yeah.
Because in school I was, you know, like, I think I was a quite bright person that jumped around
Like happy?
before yeah, not smart. Bright as in like joyful and stuff.
Oh,
like
you
before
were.
school. And then as soon as I got into school, all I remember after that point is just like complete depressing feelings and thoughts and just like stuff that I just want to like, and even just thinking about the kid, I judge myself. I judge myself because I believe a lot of the things they say because I see it. It's obvious that when you're trying to write one sentence and and it says follow the dotted line, I hate that.
Right.
I hate that because I take I took a pen, and then if I did it with a pen and I went off, I was like, should I ask for a new paper? Like, I went like, what, like, I don't know if people know measurements, but like a 1/16 of an inch off.
Right.
They cut an inch into 16 pieces, 1/16 off, and I was like,
Yeah,
you can see clearly that here's the dotted line and here's my line.
Right.
I did a terrible job.
Right.
And I go up to the teacher, and I remember specifically one time asking, like, should I get a new paper? Like, I went off the line. They were like, no, you didn't. What do you mean?
Right.
And they didn't understand that, like, well, it said follow the dotted
Right.
line. I don't want to fail.
Right,
You know?
right, yeah.
Well, and then I look at other people's, and I was like, they did it wrong. Why'd they get 100%?
Mm.
You know? And I didn't finish mine because I spent 3 hours doing something that took them 1 minute, 2 minutes.
Right.
And so then So then it's totally obvious. Like, that's a huge difference. I'm like, I judge myself.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible person.
By
I'm
the way,
stupid. I'm
Tim
slow.
is very dyslexic. And wait, are you in comprehension too, or is it in something else?
What's comprehension?
I'm dyslexic.
He doesn't comprehend that.
So yeah, he probably
like,
is.
did you go and get tested or whatever to find out what kind of dyslexia you have?
No, I don't remember the name, but I went to the same lady you did.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, Tim's very dyslexic and I don't know, whatever he's dyslexic in, and I'm dyslexic. I'm less than what Tim is, but I still can feel him on some subjects because I still am dyslexic, but in comprehension. So just trying to explain me like math problems, like I just won't click. I just can't understand it. But once I do understand it, then like boom, I can teach the people in class, and like yeah, Tim feels the same way, but he struggled way harder because it's way worse with him of spelling words and trying to read. I've been able to learn it, but and now I'm doing fine. But I have it way less than Tim, and so that's kind of still something you still see today is him facing the dyslexia. But he's definitely doing better, and I mean.
Yeah.
What
Just
about
so you guys know.
Is there an insult that sticks out for you? I'm asking because I'm genuinely
like either I mean I feel like most of my childhood I either pushed everything down. As a childhood I'd cry like once a year if maybe something big happens or something hit home for me because I would suppress memories. And now I don't know if either it's hidden because I suppress the memory so I don't really remember it, or Sherry wants beers.
I know. Now I'm sorry. I don't.
That was the offensive thing right there.
Yeah, that was offensive. I wasn't listening. I was asking.
She's asking for a beer and didn't get me one.
Yo, Chris, you're
But-
of age.
I am.
Yes,
Oh yeah, so I just had my birthday, 19th birthday, I think 2 days ago. 6th, 2 days ago, August 4th. Yeah.
And he went and purchased his beer like a big boy. I was so proud of him.
Oh yeah, so I have a tuck shop, which if you don't know what that is,
Too bad.
it's a small Avondale inside the house.
That's right. And it's very dangerous because anytime you want a snack, you're like, oh, well, there's just some granola bars and cookies and energy drinks.
Yeah, energy drinks. I got beers. I got pops. I got freezies. I got Dairy Queen bars.
Yeah.
I have different I have veggie sticks, 3 different kinds. I have the snap peas.
Yep.
I have chocolate granola bars.
Yeah.
I have Dad's cookies, phenomenal.
I know. It's a dangerous place.
Lollipops.
I've literally spent, like, how long have you had that tuck shop open?
Oh my! I've probably had the tuck shop for like 5 months or something. I've probably made like $200.
Yeah, and at least 50 or 60 of that has been for me.
Yeah, everyone's just and like yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
the idea is patented, so if you
Right.
try to do
Yeah.
the same thing, you have to pay
If
for
you
it.
want to start
right.
your own, then you have to give me a fee, or I can ship you the stuff and
Right.
you can pay me.
Yeah, you can be the middleman.
Yeah.
So I totally have to tell the first insult that sticks with me because it's really funny.
I was listening, but what was it?
What?
The
What was your
insult?
insult?
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea.
What did they say?
Again, like I can't since I suppress a
Did
lot
you
of my
say they
memories.
pushed
I
it
don't
down?
even remember. Like, when I went through and tried to find the issue at hand, like what caused me to not cry, and things like that, and dealt with it, and brought truth to the situation that kind of was the
Can I have some ice?
bringing of
Yeah.
it. Then Sherry asked for ice and didn't get me any.
I'm totally listening.
And I have no idea what I was talking about. So
No, you said pushing down.
You wouldn't cry.
You wouldn't cry
when
like
cry
once a
and when
year.
I dealt
And you were
with
trying to
the
get to the
situation,
roots.
yeah. And brought truth into it. Then my mom and I, she was helping me. we looked through childhood books because I couldn't remember anything as a kid. Yeah, like I have a couple memories from my whole childhood.
Yeah.
Like 3rd Street, which was like 6 years ago. I'm 19 now. I can't even really remember much.
Really?
Yeah, so.
Wow, that's surprising because you were old enough that you should have remembered.
Yeah.
You can't remember 3rd Street?
Okay.
I remember trying to cut those
Mitchell's
memories out of
hugging
my
me.
life too.
Yeah.
Like just trying to completely forget about myself.
It's just
and everything that happened.
suppressing stuff. And yeah, so I don't really remember. But anyway, so looking through childhood memories, man, did I probably cried the hardest I've ever cried. Like you hear about like people mourning and they're like wailing like, you know, just deep wails. I don't know, like a whale, I guess, swimming in the ocean.
Wow.
That was me, man. That was refreshing, but like it was sad because it's literally looking, and I had to choose to incorporate that kid that I was looking at was me, because it just was a kid.
Right.
Like it wasn't even me.
You were crying when you saw a kid, or
When I was looking through the memories of when I was a kid, and like baby pictures or like growing up with you.
And that made you cry?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Because I was like, I don't remember any of this.
Wow.
Like this is like I just missed out on my whole life.
Wow. Wow. And now that you've sort of had that breakthrough where you did have
I found that I
cry,
could feel a lot more.
Can you remember more than you
I
could
don't know,
before?
but I have no
Oh my
idea. But I mean,
goodness.
I know that I can feel feelings more.
Mm-hmm.
I can tear up and cry more easily. Still a bit hard. Probably more work to do finding situations, but what? Remember what?
Well, I remember like a lot of our discussions with mom and dad. If you said, "Hey, this is like mine" or something, for some reason I was always able to remember the exact occasion where we traded toys or something, and you could never remember anything. Not never, but a lot of the time you couldn't remember things.
Oh yeah, I can't remember who.
Like even
whose
closer
car
to
it
the
was.
time. Yeah. Like with the cars and stuff and like other things. I remember that you'd be like, well, I don't know what happened, and then I would explain every single detail, and you're like, oh yeah, that did happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, or sometimes, yeah.
But
a
then
lot of
sometimes
times
I
you
would
did that.
remember some
sometimes-
glimpses.
Yeah.
So it was hard that way.
Wow.
Mitchell, that was an alcoholic chocolate milk.
So share.
It's
So share.
real eggnog.
So Sherry, what's your story?
Yeah, did you end up? No,
Oh, my most hurtful insult.
It's when I hugged her and told her it felt good.
What? Okay. I remember, Tim, when you realized that I was adopted, and you're like, "Oh, that means that we can get married."
Oh my goodness! That's the most offensive thing I've said. Oh my
It was
goodness,
really
it's
cute.
true.
Luke is in the other room. I'm not sure if he can hear this. Can you hear this, Luke?
I'm married
So
now.
this is not.
Dang it, she beat us.
This is not an insult. It was just something very funny. I remember I had just come back from the Dominican Republic, and we had gone out for dinner for my birthday, and everybody was there with like their spouse, and Luke looks at me and he goes, "How come you've never got married?" And I said, "Oh, I've never met the right person." He goes, "Are you going to marry a lady?" I was like,
Oh no.
no. But I thought that was really funny that was the conclusion he'd drawn from the fact that I never had a partner.
I'm not sure if I was a little high or if I was. I don't know.
Maybe you just, I don't know, thought that because I was still single that I had.
That's what happens
probably-
when
I was
you
probably
cook with
thinking-
marijuana seeds. MCs.
I was probably thinking that like you're still like in your. Well, at that time.
Yeah,
you were-
I was in my
you were
mid-20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why are you not married?
Yeah.
You know, like.
What's going
Is
on here?
something off
about you? Something.
Are you gonna marry a lady?
Why haven't you fit into our social roles yet, Sherry?
Yes. So, FYI, I will not be marrying a lady. So, just to clarify.
Just so no ladies come after you.
Yeah.
Not a man either.
She's ours.
I'm not
Yeah.
looking.
Oh,
I'm
and
not
on
really
that,
a boy.
on that fact, just a couple months ago, do you want to tell the story about that? About Luke and I? The new discovery about you?
Oh, yeah, that's good. But can I tell my insult first?
Oh,
Yeah.
Because then I'll go to that. Because this is so funny in retrospect, but at the time it was completely devastating. So I had always gone to private schools that were really, really small. So there would be like maybe 17 people between grades 1 and 12 in the same room. We all wore uniforms. So I never really knew anything about pop culture. Like everybody I knew was a Christian, listened to Christian music. There was no interaction with the outside world. I hardly knew anybody that wasn't a Christian. And then when we lived in North Dakota, my parents sent me to a public school, so I'd gone from a classroom, a one-room school with 17 people, to an elementary school that had 3 classes of each grade, and each class was 30 people. So in my grade of grade 5, there was 90 kids. And the school ranged from grades 1 to 6. So it was a totally different environment. And then everybody, like you wore jeans, you wore clothes that weren't uniform, And so I had no idea. I'd never heard of Madonna, Michael Jackson. Like I just went in. No, my mom sent me in, and I thought my mom's clothes were pretty. And so I wore this bright yellow frilly shirt that had it was like from the 70s, and like the frills came up over my throat and had like this big bow.
Frills for new age people. What's that called? It's called
frills. It's like a frilly collar.
Yeah. It's just like a collar.
And then it had a big bow, and then it had like frills like on the arms.
So what you're saying is you showed up looking like the coolest person
like
ever.
the biggest nerd ever on the first day of school.
No.
You just went thrift shopping.
You looked amazing.
No.
You
And
gotta
then what
sing the
happened?
thrift shopping song. Oh!
Get out the way.
No.
And then my skirt was a plaid. It was plaid, and it was purple. So that with a bright yellow shirt.
So
So-
what was the
I'm
insult?
so
I
sorry.
looked like such a dork. And I was wearing this necklace that my grandma had given me, and it had a Chinese symbol on it, which meant happiness. And so I was like all proud of this
You just
necklace.
need Caleb behind show. You do you, honey.
Yeah,
you do you.
So I went in all proud, and like I instantly like the target of people to pick on. And so one of these girls at school, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I love your necklace." And I was like,
Wow.
"Really?"
That was a nice compliment.
Right. That's how I'm taking it. It's like, "Oh my gosh, they like my necklace." And then they're like, "That necklace is like so stupid." And I heard them like talking about my necklace like it was dumb. And then one of the
You
guys,
literally had Mean Girls happen.
I did. I literally lived Mean Girls. And then this guy, his name was Mark Brecky. Mark Brecky, if you're listening, I'm coming for you.
I'm coming to your house and I'm telling you what happened.
Yeah.
She's gonna be standing outside your house bouncing a basketball like, you listen here, Mark Brecky."
Mix
So,
the stories up.
He goes, "What's your stupid necklace mean?" I'm like, "It means happiness in Chinese." And he goes, more like fat doink. And I was like, "What?" Like,
Oh my goodness.
I know. I was so, because nobody had ever called me that. And I was like, I didn't even know what a dyke was. And then I go home and I look it up in the dictionary, and it's like, a dyke is like a thing that you like, that blocks water. So I'm like, I don't get it. Like, there's actually a second meaning for dyke. And like in like Holland and stuff, they have these famous dikes. So I'm like, why would he call me a fat like blockage of water? And then I went and I told my mom, and I'm like, this kid called me a fat dyke. And then she was like, what? She was completely furious. And then when I found out from my friends what it actually meant, I was like, I can't believe it. And I cried.
What does
that
it
really
mean?
upset me.
You
It's
got-
a lesbian.
What?
Yeah.
I thought it was like a runoff of
It's
dork.
like it's a derogatory term for
It's
lesbian.
a derogatory term for a lesbian.
Essentially saying lesbian, but we're not looking at that in a positive way.
Yeah.
So
It's like
literally, they were supporting that kind of stuff back then.
no, it was not said in a supportive way. It was quite derogatory. But that was the one that I think that stung the most because,
Yeah.
like I said, like you said
sucks.
earlier, it was the first one.
Yeah.
And so that
Exactly.
there was a lot of meaner things that was said about my chin, my braces. It got called brace face. It got called large Marge from like Pee Wee
Large
Herman.
Marge.
Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse had a character named Large Marge. I got Large Marge. I got train tracks because I had braces. I mean, it just I got called Biff because I had big
I like
shoulders.
Biff's
Like,
Biff's
Biff, I
a
kind of.
lovely name.
I actually
like
liked
large.
Biff. I
Large
did
Marge.
like Biff. I
Anyone named Biff in a movie is going to be a lovely character.
you know what?
They're like the gruff person who's actually sweet at heart and usually like
that's
doesn't
right.
talk.
Yeah.
You know
So
Or
that
they're
was
just a
mine.
straight up
You know
bully.
what I like to do though? I like to beat them all to make fun of myself, just like you. Like if I had braces in school, I probably would have been like, "Dude, it's cool. Like I don't even need to play with train tracks. I got them with me
I
all
got
the
him
time."
up. And
You
see,
know,
that's
and-
what you and I were talking about before. Is like, I used to always be really sensitive and really hurt when people would make fun of me. And then I started learning, okay, if I'm the first one to crack the joke, then I'll get people laughing with me rather than at me. So point out the things that I'm most sensitive about. And no, I don't want to cue people with misophonia by eating veggie sticks. Yeah.
Gull?
But yeah, so I learned that as a way of survival is to be the one to make the joke first. So yeah. So tell the story about what you learned about me a couple months ago, you and Luke.
Yeah, so I think we were at the dining room table, and
No, with
How
you
did-
it was in the van. With Luke it was at the dining room table.
oh,
It
yeah.
was two separate occasions.
Yeah, I have
Who's
no
telling
idea.
this story,
You,
Sherry?
you should tell the story. I have no idea.
You know what we're talking about, Luke?
We're having some delicious veggie sticks here. They're
Yeah, and you're
zesty
crinkling
ranch.
the bag like right in the mic, so I'm sure people really appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
So we're driving home. This was with Chris. We were driving home and Mark makes a joke. Mark is my older brother and Tim and Chris's father. And he makes a joke about like, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something about like, oh, you're not my real sister. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
You're not my real sister. And
All right,
Chris,
and then I'm like, Dad,
that is so rude. You were like, you genuinely took
Yeah.
offense for me. And he's like, that's so rude. You shouldn't say that. And then I'm like, oh, it's okay. It's just a joke because, you know, I was adopted. And he's like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. You were adopted. And I was like, but Mark and Debbie and I look at each other and we're like, does he not know that I was adopted? Like, and then it took us a really long time to convince you. And then finally you're like, what? You were adopted? And this was just like a year
I
ago.
actually
It
felt
wasn't
like hurt.
Yeah.
I felt offended
my
that they
goodness.
wouldn't even tell me.
But it's not that we intended to keep it from you. It's
They
just we
told-
always assumed you
Chris,
knew.
they told us, the mom and dad told us many times, and you were in the room.
He already said he forgets everything.
But see, Luke didn't remember either. And just like when he came to live with us in November of last year, I think we were telling this story and how funny it was that you didn't know I was adopted. And Luke was like, you were adopted? And I'm like, how does nobody know this? Like,
Because no one tells us.
I knew it before you guys.
It's like going to a girl that has a big belly and saying, "Oh, when are you expecting?"
Yes.
And then it just being fat. Like,
Yeah.
you don't do that.
no, that's totally
like Papa would always make the joke of like not having the choice with Dad
Yeah.
and Mark, and then having the choice with Sherry. It never clued to me.
Yeah.
because that was my
Really?
big bragging right. Was
Yeah,
saying,
and
I always
You
got
got to
that. I was
choose
told
with
when
me.
I was a kid, and
That's
like
right.
I always knew it.
I never knew it.
well,
That's
you wanted to
crazy.
marry
But
me.
it never
I know.
it never clued to me that you were adopted because of that comment.
Right. Yeah, so it was really funny
We're the
that.
outsiders in this family.
I know.
What about you, Mitchell?
I knew about it.
Did anyone
no,
tell
he
you?
was
When
adopted
did you
too.
know?
I forget exactly when, but I think we were downstairs at the house, and we just had like this conversation. I was like, "What? You're adopted?" And you're like, Yeah, and somehow it was because we were talking about the fact that your dad, like, when he told you, I think we were talking about adoption and whether or not people get upset about it. And you're like, well, when my dad told me I was adopted, I was like, oh, you're adopted? And you're like, yeah. And you're saying how you never saw it as a negative thing.
No, not at all.
Because whatever he would say that, he was like, he'd be like, oh, we chose Sherry. And so he'd be like, yeah, I was chosen.
Yeah.
And that type thing.
Even before I understood what adoption meant. Like, I knew that I was different from my brother. So by the time I got to an age where I was old enough to understand it, I already kind of knew.
Yeah, it's true. That's the way it should
It's
happen.
so how it should happen. Because
Yeah.
these parents who spring it on their kids when they're like 11 or
my
12.
goodness.
Guess what?
Yeah.
You think you know who you are.
Yeah.
And especially for
Huge,
girls, you're already
like,
going
crisis.
through hormones. And,
Santa isn't real and you're adopted.
yeah, exactly.
They just wait till they get really fed up with you, and you're like, "Well, you're not you're adopted
You're
anyways."
adopted, yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah, just dropping on them when you're down.
Boom.
Oh yeah, well you're not real.
It's also that thing of like
That's Luke.
Papa saying that stuff and then being like, yeah, we chose you. You're part of the family now.
Yeah,
You know, like,
exactly. So it's
You're
always a very
adopted?
positive thing.
No.
You better not play this on me, too.
No.
Chris,
No, Luke looks so much
I
like
was
his
a-
mom and his dad.
No, but Chris, I was adopted.
I just mean for Sherry, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was never a bad thing, and yeah. So I always knew.
I'm sure Papa felt prideful that, I don't know, he chose you.
Aww.
Oh.
Yay! He probably didn't feel that way when I was 12 and cutting up his ties when I was mad.
Cutting his ties.
I got mad and I went to his closet and I cut up his ties.
How did that go, Jerry? Why don't you tell us?
Did not go very well. I got a very, very bad spanking, and
never does.
yeah, go figure.
You know, that's the problem nowadays, though, because when kids do that, they don't get straightened out oftentimes.
Straightened out. Sorry, that wording for that. You gotta straighten them out.
No. The parents are there to guide the kids, right? That's why you have kids. They don't know anything, right? You're there, and the thing is like, I was against like disciplining your kids when I was being disciplined. And then now I'm like, okay, I understand why they did that, and I needed that.
Right.
Right? Because the way they did it helped me be who I am, and who I am, I rather am happy with.
Mm-hmm.
And like the problem is if people don't kind of teach their kids in like a bit of a scary way, which now they're not allowed to, which is a bigger problem, that then all of a sudden the kids end up not changing that behavior, and they end up like with
no
building the mental passageways that allow that behavior to happen when you're an adult.
Well, I
you
think
continue to act as an infant.
I think sometimes fear can be a good thing, because like if it's let me think how I'm going to word this. Like, I don't think spanking should be the go-to for everything.
No.
I think the punishment should fit the crime. So, like, if you, like, I remember your mom, for example, the big thing that she always spanked for was if you, like, ran out into a busy street and you had been told you don't do that. And that was for your own protection of, like, you can't get hit by a car. So if you're running out into the street and I told you
Many
50 times not to do it, this is the penalty. And so you always knew that was going to be a spanking.
That wasn't
Right.
one of the ones of being like, oh, well, let's let him burn his hand. He'll learn the lesson fast.
Yeah,
She's like,
no.
oh, let's let him get hit by a
By
car.
a car,
That'll teach
and
him.
that'll teach him. Yeah.
They'll strain you out,
I
kiddo.
remember times of like when I would mouth off to my mom really bad, and she'd be like, "Wait till your dad gets home," and that struck the fear of God in my
Oh, yeah.
life.
Oh yeah.
Because I wasn't scared of my mom. I'm
Exactly.
like,
No one's
you're
scared
not
of your
gonna
mom.
hit me that hard that it's gonna affect me. Like,
I-
but when she'd said, "Just wait till your dad gets home," then the whole afternoon it's been sucking up to her, "Mommy, la la la," and she's like, "No, no, no, don't think that I'm forgetting what
that's the
happened."
worst when they do that.
Oh, kills. And then you're just like, oh, shaking your boots, and then you hear your dad come in. You're like, oh, your bum is already starting to hurt.
It hurts.
And then you can hear your mom whispering to your dad in the kitchen, and then your dad's like, Sherry, go to your room, and you're like, ah! That is the worst. That is the worst. But like, there were times that I absolutely had it coming, and I should have been spanked for some of the things that I said to my mom. So, like, but it's like when it's like complete and utter disrespect or disregard for really important rules. That's when.
See, why doesn't she just always say, "You say that again, and your father's coming home," and you know why not just tell us that he'll deal with us?
You know why, Chris? Because if you use it too much,
Yeah.
it ends up being less effective because it doesn't strike the fear as much because you're like, oh, it's just gonna happen, it's normal.
Yeah.
But also, if you don't do it, if you say that and it becomes more of a go-to, and all of a sudden you say it even when you don't think that it should happen because it wasn't actually that bad. Like if she was just listening to the wrong music in the house and you haven't told them exactly what kind of music or specifically not to listen to that song and it's kind of an iffy area and you say just wait until your father get home and then you realize, oh, I didn't actually tell her before not to listen to that song. Then all of a sudden you don't do it, it builds the reputation that you won't do it, and it won't strike the fear as much because you might not do it.
You just say, wait,
or
sorry,
even if you
honey,
do it.
actually, no, I remember, I don't remember telling you.
See, but that's the problem. If the minute parents do that, they feel like their kids start going, wow, well, they're not perfect.
Yeah.
And parents don't want their kids to realize that.
Until they're older.
Yeah.
And then
and
they're
also,
like,
I think moms want to control the situation as much as they can on their own. So they're using dad as a last resort. Like if they can't handle it or, you know, the situation is completely out of control, that it warrants the escalation. But I think most of the time my mom could handle the smaller minor issues. It never had to escalate to your dad dealing with you because, you know, your dad doesn't always want to be the bad guy either and be the one,
Poor dad.
you know, that you're scared of.
You just
Okay,
come
here's
home
the
after
deal,
work,
honey.
Tired and
Here's the deal, honey. I'm gonna hit them, and you're gonna hit them real hard. But that's the thing, like with my parents. Like the reason why, like my dad being the one who's doing it was terrifying is because my mother like smacks with the hand. My dad, that's when he's like, I'm gonna get creative and bring out a weapon. You know, he grabs the belt, and you're like,
try it back.
no.
So your dad literally just folded the bill in half and snapped it, and that's how he spanked you? Oh my goodness, Mitchell, that's such a getaway. Not joking.
I don't know if he actually folded it in half.
Yeah, my dad
I think he
folded
might
it
have
in
like
half.
full out like whip.
No, yeah, but when you fold it in half and you push it together and it goes like
that's
that,
a terrifying sound.
and you just go like that, it makes a really loud snapping sound.
Yeah. That,
So
my
he's
dad
just like,
used to do that.
No, Dad, no. We are the knights who.
we are the next knee.
No, not the belt sound.
Last night, I introduced my nephews to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and so we quite enjoyed that. That was fun. But yes.
See, my dad was always the bad guy because mom never had the guts.
No, and your mom's so passive in her personality too. Like, your dad kind of had to be the bad guy, I think. Yeah.
Which is kind of a tough place to put them in that case, because then the one person's like, oh, I can't do bad things because I'm so sweet. You be the bad guy and I'll always throw them to you to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then that kind of like puts that thing on them. And that is tough because
But
like,
it depends.
What does it depend on?
Well, it depends. Say
But
if you're just the bad guy, just like you're really good at like doing all the spanks. You're always on every area of everything. You're really like hard. The other one wants to compensate and be really good.
See, I get that, but here's the problem.
Couples, they
See, that's
compensate
actually
between each other.
compensating is good, but the way you're talking about it isn't actually compensating. Because think of it this, okay? You have two parents. One of them loves you and treats you great and only tells you don't do that, and then if you do it, they go, your father's going to spank you. And the other one is the punisher. They spank you. They still love you, but what you attribute them to is spanking you. Which parent are you going to be closer to? Mm-hmm. The one who hits you and punishes you and gets upset at you and like says things that make you sad? Or are you going to be happier with the person who's just nice to you and just going, oh, don't do that, honey?
Right.
You're gonna have. You're essentially going to look at one person
the-
as better than the other person
Yeah.
in your own mind, and that's not a very fair thing.
No, I
like
agree.
for like them to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There has to be a balance and a united front. And mom has to be just as strong as dad like even if it's not physically, there needs to be a unification of minds that they, like even if dad's doing the spanking, mom's on board with it, Otherwise, does.
Yeah, they both have to be there for it.
Yeah, mom's watching.
United front. He's spanking and she's in the back like, do you like that, Tim?
Yes.
You just end up with like two parents that you never want to like. You're like, I will never love you. I'm sorry. You watched me get beat.
See, but that's the thing.
Which is almost worse. It's almost worse.
There's a
right?
It is.
It is the one who's sitting by.
So
going,
mentally twisted.
I found
You've had that coming all day, you little brat.
And that's another
Just
thing.
watch you mistalk me again.
Yeah.
When you do that, you have to make sure you're not doing it out of negative feelings. That you're doing it out of making sure to teach them, right?
Because that's where the line can be crossed. Is if you strike in impulse and anger, or like if you get. I think it should be like
a process.
Yes, definitely, and you need to sit them down and explain why they're getting spanked. Because if you, as a parent, lack impulse control and you respond by either smacking the face, hitting, no, there has to be an explanation and I love you, and then once they spank you, then hugging you and saying, this is for your own good.
Yeah, exactly.
There's definitely a way. I am not advocating beating your kids.
No,
I think there's
course.
a very big difference between a spanking and a outright abuse.
And training your kids and being a parent is it does not take away from respecting your kids. You still need to respect your kids. They are human, they are people.
Yes.
And you should make a process. If anything, it doesn't have to be a checklist, but at least something where you say, okay, if we start disciplining them out of this kind of checklist without it being a checklist. I mean, an idea, you know what I mean? Like we should be able to explain why we're disciplining them,
right?
So that they fully understand, and either before or just after, depending on the situation,
right?
But we should explain to them; they should understand, because otherwise, a discipline is just a beating if there is no explanation.
That's right. That's right.
And so there should be a structure because that's way more. It's way more efficient and respectful. And they are human. You don't just beat a human.
Yeah, that's right. And it solves there has to be an understanding. So there's not a repeat of behavior. Because that's ultimately what you're trying to get them to learn is not to repeat that same behavior. So if they understand that as a result of their behavior, the hope is they're not going to do the same thing again.
Yeah, and apparently in studies I've heard that when you tell the kid before and they fully understand, the idea is in their head when you spank them, and for some reason spanking, maybe not spanking, but any kind of physical pain,
right,
contributes straight to the brain, and the brain will literally not want to do it again subconsciously. The kid doesn't even have to consciously think, I don't want to do that again. The brain will avoid doing that again next time.
Right,
After it happens a couple of times, it'll realize, okay, so that happened, and I remember pain because of it.
Right.
And it's just 1 + 1 = 2. It's just a matter of math in the head.
And that's why you have to be careful to use that for real serious situations.
Exactly.
Don't go out in the middle of the road, rather than don't listen to that type of music.
Yes.
Because one becomes a personal choice that if you scare them away from to the point that they are feeling like if they do that then they're going to get hurt, then when they grow up, if they don't find that thing to be as bad as they were led to believe, they're going to feel betrayed and it was more of an abuse type thing. But if it's they saved my life by not letting me go on the street, that's a little different.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point.
I like how it's turned into just snack time.
I know, people with misophonia are losing their minds.
Well, they probably stopped listening.
Yeah.
By now. It's 2 hours.
I stopped
Of
listening
snacking.
half an hour.
I kind of feel bad for Chris. He's gonna have to listen.
No,
to
I'll make
2
this into
hours
2
of
parts.
You know what we should do? Instead of recording on a completely different day like we're doing right now, we should just record for 7 hours straight and then split that up into a bunch of different
gosh,
podcasts.
That's
Yeah.
over.
No!
And we restart it every day. No,
Yeah.
every hour. Sorry.
Guys, I have a life. Let's not do that. I can't spend 24 hours, 21
Editing.
hours editing that because you have to
No.
go through it and then
No,
chop it out. months because we already have a couple.
And it wasn't a serious idea, guys. It was a joke.
It's just like if we do 2 now, we have 2.
Yeah, but
we
if
have-
you do 7, it doesn't need to be an order of realistic timeline. It's just us talking. We could make one a month down the road and not have edited it.
Because you know what's gonna happen.
And do that one first.
You know what's gonna happen when you turn. You know.
He didn't even wave it. It was just like.
But Luke just blew his vape and then
Mitchell tried to wave it.
Mitchell was
while
trying to
Mitchell
catch
was
it.
talking, he was just waving his hand.
But you know what's literally gonna happen after we turn
Oh,
this
that's
off?
rude. Don't do that.
You know what's gonna happen after we turn this off?
Perfume.
We're literally gonna do something like walk into the living room and then just keep talking.
I know, like I want to go to bed, but then I might as well just leave it on because I know you guys will stay up late anyways.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
I probably
You'll end
won't.
up being a part of the conversation anyways. What?
Yeah, I got peeps coming tomorrow. Oh, it's only 10:30.
When are they coming?
Yeah, it's only 10 here.
10 a.m.
Monday.
I was thinking the night.
No,
I was
morning.
thinking Tuesday.
I wasn't
At least the
thinking.
night.
What?
But it's okay. I'll have the room ready.
We didn't
Sorry,
actually wrap up our first one. We should say, okay, well that's it for.
Oh.
Okay, well
this
that's it.
this is the end of our second
No,
and
you
first
can't just,
episode.
you can't go doing that. We gotta give it a couple seconds of silence for this.
So,
Oh!
hey guys, so
Wait.
we just finished up talking about bullying, parental importance, family, brother and sister importance, the fact that they're all here to help us grow. We also talked about the different specific insults, the worst insults we've ever had.
This podcast was a lot shorter than our first one.
And we talked about. Oh, it's because it's the most recent. I remember what happened.
And we talked about it like past hurts and had some makeup time.
Yeah.
Saying sorry. So that
Sorry,
was
you guys missed a lot of it, but
No, I think we got
you
that.
caught
We
a
got
little
that.
bit at the end of the making up of the making out. The making up of the hurts and stuff and the hugging. Well, you didn't really see it, but we enjoyed it. Anyway, so we'll probably make another thing like this at some point whenever we feel like it. Probably right after this. All right.
Catch you on the outside of life.
Catch you later.
You want to teach the kids